What is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolve video. Alright, so it seems like they're going to be doing a new feature every set with something special happening, and this special thing that's happening in this set is for sure other crafts and other cards being in different crafts. And if that confuses you, then don't worry. Once we get to our first card, you will probably understand what I'm talking about. Alrighty, and starting with our first card, we have Forest Oracle Pascal. So she's a 7 cost 4/7. She is Warden. At the start of your end phase, give each other follower on your field +2/+2, and then you give your leader +4 defense. But when she comes into play fanfare, you select enemy follower in the field and put it to the top of its owner's deck. Alright, so to clarify that confusion early on in the beginning of the video, so if you remember Sun Oracle Pascal, so Sun Oracle Pascal is now in Forestcraft for this set, and she's going to be in the form of Forest, so she's going to be a nice little critter follower. But getting more into the effects, spending 7 to play a card and then removing a follower and also stunning your opponent's draw is actually pretty good. While on the end phase, she has ward and then giving all your other followers on the field a buff and then giving you some defense. I think this is a pretty solid legendary. Alrighty, and we have our new premier card for Forestcraft. We have Orcus Puppet Girl, so she's a 3 cost 2/2. You can evolve her for 1 into an Orcus Resolute Puppet, or you can evolve her for 4 into an Orcus Vengeful Puppet. This ability can be used if there are at least 3 Puppeteery cards in your cemetery. Alright, so this card is going to be very interesting because when you evolve into it for this set, the card Orcus Resolute Puppet is going to be the front side of the card, while on the back side of that very same card, you're going to have Orcus Vengeful Puppet. Alright, so getting into Orcus Resolute Puppet, so she turns into a 3/3, and once per turn during your turn, when a puppet token leaves your field, you put a Lloyd the Android token into your EX area, and then on evolve you summon 2 puppet tokens. So not that bad for the Resolute Puppet. You go ahead and summon 2 puppets from evolving, and then whenever those puppets leave the field, they turn into Lloyd Android tokens into your EX area. Alright, so let's figure out what Lloyd does. So we have Lloyd the Android. So he's a 0 cost 2/4, and he has ward, and while this card is on your field, it is also treated as a puppet token. When it comes into play, you give your leader +2 defense. So as we can see that big fat 0 at the top, we can see that this card is free, so that's pretty good. And then also playing it for free and then also healing yourself for 2 is amazing. Along with this also becoming a puppet token as well, this can also help with probably older puppet support. Alright, and then we have Orcus Vengeful Puppet. So this is the version where you pay 4 for, and then she turns into a 4/4. So while this card is on your field, your puppet tokens have a sale. Whenever a puppet token leaves your field, select enemy leader or enemy follower in the field and deal it 2 damage. And then on evolve, you summon 4 puppet tokens. Alright, so Orcus is definitely living up to the hype. So the puppet tokens already have rush when they are played, and also having a sale is pretty good too. And then when they're removed from the rush and a sale from swinging at your reserved and or engaged followers, you're going to be dealing 2 damage to enemy leaders and then whatever follower that's on the field that can be targeted for 2 damage. So for those of you who do not remember what a puppet token looks like, this is a good representation of it. So this is going to have rush, and then it's going to assail into another follower as long as you have the Orcus Vengeful Puppet on field, and you're going to summon 4 of them, so dealing 4 damage and then splitting that up between another 2 into followers or into leader is pretty good. Alrighty, and next up we have Zwei Murderous Puppet. So she's a 3 cost 2/2. You can evolve her for 2, and then when she comes into play, you select a puppet token in your EX area and transform it into a Victoria token. So far with the effects that we have seen, it seems that we can turn Lloyd into a Victoria or whatever puppets we have into our EX area into Victoria tokens. And speaking of Victoria, so she's a 0 cost 4/1, she has rush and assail, and when this card is on your field, it is also treated as a puppet card, but when she comes into play, you draw a card. Alright, so this token is kind of cracked. It's free. It's a free draw card that has rush and assail with 4 attacks, so that can swing into most followers. Having 1 defense is amazing too, because whenever it leaves the field, it's also treated as a puppet. So you have Orcus, you can do a lot of combinations there, and that's just amazing that she has rush and assail, and then she gets to draw a card for free. Alright, and then we have the Murderous Puppet Evolve. So she turns into a 4/4, but on evolve you select a Victoria token on your field and it doesn't take damage for the rest of this turn. Alright, so it's kind of like CardGames effect with the Ethereal Moon. You can just choose the Victoria on your field. You have to make sure it's on your field when you do it, and then it doesn't take damage. So swinging for 4 into a follower that also swings for whatever damage that is at least more than 1, that's what she is, will not take damage, and she gets to stick on the field for your opponent to answer the very next turn. Alrighty, and this is our first Licorice card outside of the leader card. So we have Licorice Poisoner Princess. So she's a 3 cost 1/3. She has Bane, and during your turn, whenever an enemy follower on the field is put into the cemetery, deal 1 damage to its leader. She can also activate by engaging this card to select another follower on your field and give it Bane. Alright, so it looks like there's a lot of combinations. I think this is just a good forest card in general, because sometimes if you don't have the removal for forest and you're able to swing with a follower that has rush, just engaging and giving it Bane is pretty nice. And then as long as it's your turn, whenever the follower that has Bane just removes something, you can go ahead and ping your enemy for 1. Alrighty, we have Lena and Lena, twin souls, so they are 4 cost 3/3. They have Storm and they have a strike ability, so when they swing, if there are at least 3 followers on your field, give this follower +1 attack. Alright, some interesting Hunter and Beast support, so I think getting this off of Limaga is not that bad, especially with Limaga having Storm 2, and then filling up your entire board with Hunters and then having at least 3 followers on the field. Putting that together with Limaga is going to be pretty nice, sort of swinging for a lot of damage. Alright, and we have Michelle the Mind Reader, so she's a 1 cost 1/1 and you can evolve her for 2. And looking at the Mind Reader evolve, so she turned into a 2/2, and on evolve you search your deck for a Forestcraft follower that originally cost 5 play points and reveal it and add it to your hand. Alright, so it looks like Forestcraft finally got their Prison Priestess / Maid Leader. Alright, and we have Liam, Master of Puppets, so he's a 2 cost 2/2. When he comes into play, you put 2 puppet tokens into your EX area. You can also activate by engaging this card to look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may reveal a puppeteer card from among them and add it to your hand, and then you put the remaining cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. This ability can only be activated if there are at least 3 puppeteer cards in your cemetery. Alright, so I think this is where the synergy is going to be coming in with this way, turning those puppets into your EX area into Victorias, or whatever Victorias into, you know, Lloyds, just whatever synergy you might be running with in that game plan. Alright, next up we have Heartless Battle, so it's a 3 cost spell card, so you select up to 2 puppet tokens in your EX area and transform one of them into a Lloyd Android token and transform the other into a Victoria. Alright, not to break too much away from the card ability, but I'm just really enjoying how this art is just telling a story. If you're just new to Shadowverse or anything like that, I don't know the story, but I can definitely see that Orcus and Zwei are definitely throwing hands here. But getting back into it, just using the ability for Liam to go ahead and putting 2 puppet tokens into your EX area and then doing this the very next turn, yeah, it might seem a little weird, but you gotta remember those tokens are going to cost 0, so they're going to be free and you can just go ahead and play them. You know, Lloyd's gonna be the one that heals you for 2, and then Victoria's gonna be the one that draws you a card. Alrighty, next up we have Junk, so it's a 1 cost 1/2, and when it comes into play, you put 2 puppet tokens into your EX area. Alright, so it looks like this is going to be the card that starts the chain, and probably one of the puppeteer cards that are going to be in your cemetery to use for Liam's other effect. Alright, next up we have Insane Dark Elf, so he's a 4 cost 4/4. You can evolve him for 1, but when he swings, you put a Fairy Wisp token into your EX area. Okay, interesting, some mid-game fairy support here. But looking at the Dark Elf evolve, so he turns into a 5/5, and during your turn when this follower deals combat damage, refresh it, and he still has that strike ability to put a Fairy Wisp token into your EX area. Alright, so this card is actually pretty nice. So playing Insane Dark Elf to potentially remove 2 cards off the board because you're playing Fairy Forest, so you're probably playing a little aggressively, so maybe sticking maybe 1 or 2 of these in your deck might not be that bad. Just to put Fairy Wisp into your EX area to go ahead and get that combo up for the very next turn. And next up we have Zealot of UnKilling, so she's a 2 cost 2/3, which comes into play if there are at least 3 Hunter cards in your cemetery. Select the enemy follower on the field and give it -4 attack. Alright, so a Hunter card, just stalling your opponent for a turn is actually pretty good in this deck, especially if you can potentially play this card for free, which is nice too off of other effects. So just minusing a follower's attack, if they have 4 attack, just turns them to a 0. It's kind of just like stunning them with the Izudia. And next up we have Knower of History, so she's a 4 cost 3/3, and whenever a token follower is put onto your field, select the enemy follower on the field and deal it 2 damage. When she comes into play, you summon an Ancient Artifact token. Alright, so with her ability alone, you're just going to be summoning an Ancient Artifact and then dealing 2 damage to a follower. And here is what an Ancient Artifact token looks like. So it looks like with that, you're going to be dealing 2 damage to a follower while using the Ancient Artifact that's going to be able to swing with Rush into that very same follower for a total of 5 damage. Alright, next up we have Ward of UnKilling, so it's a 2 cost amulet. When it comes into play, you select the enemy follower in the field and give it -2 attack. You can also activate for 1 play point to engage this card and put it into your cemetery. Select a Hunter follower that costs 2 play points or less in your cemetery and put it onto your field. Alright, so this is a pretty interesting ability, especially to just stun your opponent being aggressive by that 2 attack, and it's pretty nice. And then using the activate ability to get that 2 cost Hunter out of your cemetery and playing it, so you can use Woodland Cleaver to go ahead and get out of a cemetery. It has Storm, and you can evolve it if you need to. And then you have the card that we just saw, the Zealot of UnKilling, that can give something -4 attack if you have the prerequisites. I like how multitask this card is. Alrighty, and lastly we have our Orcus Ur with its very beautiful art. It looks like she's going somewhere, going on a trip, so I hope she gets there safe. Alright soldiers, that's the end of the video. We have a lot of stuff to cover this next week and the week after. Set 8 is going to hit pretty hard. right next to set 9. But we are going to be having a series that is going to be coming out at the end of this week, so feel free to, you know, check out for it. I'll definitely put some stuff out there so you guys can see it. But until next time, make sure you're safe in whatever you do tonight and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah. TRINN. Just to get you away. What I got to do, what I got to do.